goals, and priorities of the town. Ryan Eldridge will share his research on opportunities for increased sustainability within town ordinances, policies, and plans. And Ben McQuarrie will discuss Morrisville small business support and outreach. Martha Page, our town manager, will share an overview of the summer intern program and the interns' work.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We were very fortunate to be able to provide some meaningful work both to potential future local government leaders that are in MPA programs in North Carolina that also provides value to help advance some of our work for some of our significant initiatives. We put together a program proposal that the senior management team worked on and invited MPA interns from all of the universities in North Carolina that have MPA programs, and did an interview and actually selected 3. One of our interns was named Connor Ryan and was in our communications department. His school schedule did not allow him to participate tonight, and we will be working on getting a way to share his work with you, and you may have seen him at some of our summer events. We were really pleased that one of the interns selected was in our sustainability area, and Ryan is going to talk with his work, and then followed by Ben. And Brandon, Jeannie, and I tag teamed Ben, and he found his way to many other departments and collaborated as well with the Chamber of Commerce. There was a lot of independent work, meeting with other key partners in the town, some outreach, but we provided them guidance and direction. One of the opportunities for them is to be able to make a presentation to council. So we've left their work substantially theirs. It has not gone through our normal vetting and editing and correcting. So you're seeing their personality, their originality, and the things that they were passionate about in their work here. We've asked each of them to speak 15 to 20 minutes and then entertain some of your questions. All of that will go to staff to continue to review and vet their work and implement it into places, and your comments and stuff will help both of us. So thank you, and I'd like to introduce Ryan to the microphone.
Thank you.
And Ryan, I'll go ahead and tell you, if you would prefer to present with your mask down, that is acceptable.
Okay, thank you. I'll try it on. Alrighty, my name is Ryan Eldridge. It's a pleasure to be able to speak with you this evening about some of the work that I've conducted over the past several months. The topic of my presentation is going to be opportunities for increased sustainability within town ordinances, policies, and plans. It's a diverse kind of group of opportunities that spans across various fields, departments, and other various opportunities. So a background on myself. So I've lived in this area for the past 5 years. I got my bachelor's from NC State, and thanks very much to this program, I also, a few weeks ago, received my master's in climate change and society, so I'm very appreciative to the town for that. I'm originally from Asheville, North Carolina, where I worked in municipal government there, and that's really given me a passion for this kind of work, especially in the areas of sustainability. So before I begin with any opportunities, I would like to focus on something that has really stood out, that the town has done really an excellent job with. So part of my duties was to organize and tally kind of the situation surrounding the town achieving Soul Smart designation. This has been something that has been of interest to the sustainability program and the MESC committee for some time, and if you're unfamiliar, a overview of the program is that it's a U.S. Department of Energy sponsored organization that provides accolades and designation to communities that are considered solar friendly and take advantage of opportunities and initiatives to promote access and transparency amongst residents and business owners in their efforts to install solar panels. So communities can achieve bronze, silver, or gold designation, and I'm happy to report, under current tallies, it looks as though that the town is currently at 115 credits with kind of no necessary additional action. So this has been a collaborative effort amongst Public Works, Planning, and Inspection to kind of see where we stand and provide materials to the public in accordance with the program. So it's, before I kind of get into any kind of opportunities, I would like to just point out that, the town is in a great position. And this is kind of one of those examples, not only based on the collaboration that went into kind of pulling this together, but also a large portion of what I did this summer was peer analysis, looking at, peer communities. And I can say from everything that I've looked at when it comes to kind of zoning for solar panels, Morrisville is far more progressive and far ahead of kind of any peer community. So I think that that's really great and something to be very proud of. So the 5 sustainable policy opportunities that I'm going to go over briefly involve UDO language alterations, sustainable parking, tree preservation, sustainable affordable housing, and developer and property owner incentives for sustainable actions. There is a report that accompanies this presentation that will provide more information, more detail, specifics with data, but I will kind of delve into some of that and give a brief overview now. So all of these opportunities connect very well to previously stated town goals and plans, especially what's been created in the past few years, whether that be the Culture and Environment Guiding Statement and the Comprehensive Transportation Plan, or statements in the Land Use Plan, Smart Morrisville Strategy, or the recent updates to the Strategic Plan. All of which the town advocates for increasing quality of life and the preservation of natural resources and increased livability through sustainable actions. So the first section is going to be on the UDO sustainable language opportunities. There are 5 of these that I will touch on briefly, all of which are meant to reorient and kind of restate the town's commitment to sustainability within the UDO document. Nothing here is necessarily new. It's all just kind of placing the wording that has already been placed in other plans and goals into the UDO itself. The first example of this is the purpose and intent section for the entirety of the UDO. There's an opportunity to add a commitment to sustainable growth so long as it is feasible through the implementation of sustainable principles and technology. Next is, adding additional statements to alternative equivalent compliance. Currently, there's not a specific statement that says that creative and intuitive alternatives that deal with sustainability could be considered for alternative compliance if the specific development is not necessarily in line with, current codes. We allow this or the town allows this for other things, but not sustainability, so a specific statement there. Next is allowing or altering the UDO language to allow solar access by right. Currently, solar access is property owners must negotiate amongst themselves to preserve their rooftop solar access. So this would kind of make a statement that sustainability, like solar installation, is something that is valued. And kind of relieve that burden on the property owner for protecting themselves, because they might not know at this point that they want to install solar, but later on down the line that might be something that's taken away from them based on adjacent development. The final 2, this 4th one goes very much back to the first one of general site layout and design. Adding a statement where sustainable principles and technologies included within the design and layout is going to be strongly encouraged. Again, showing the town's kind of commitment to developing in this way. And then the last is an opportunity to go beyond a strong recommendation for the planting of native vegetation to either a percentage requirement or an incentive. So currently that is the language that's present, is a strong recommendation for native vegetation. However, increasing the amount of native vegetation not only provides, a more authentic aesthetic to this region, but also provides habitat and food sources for pollinators and other native species. And that's also in line with the town's recent Mayor's Monarch Pledge, which prioritizes kind of taking care of pollinator species. Next is sustainable parking. So I think that kind of goes without saying, electric vehicles are on the rise. Their adoption is on the rise, especially in this area. Analysis has shown that neighboring communities such as Raleigh, Durham, and Cary are very EV friendly. They rank some of the highest in the country when it comes to a current amount of EV infrastructure. So it stands to reason that residents and visitors to Morrisville will come to kind of expect the same level of infrastructure. And we want to not only be sustainable, but follow kind of consumer trends, especially when they are sustainable. Currently, the UDO has a maximum 10% cap on parking spaces, so no more than 10% of a surface level parking can be designated as for EVs, which is not necessarily the most intuitive with the expansion that's coming. Predictions show that nationwide, within the next few years, we are going to reach 7% of all vehicles being registered being electric vehicles. So obviously a 10% cap, especially in this region, is not really necessarily going to suffice. Another portion of sustainable parking is maximum parking limits. I feel like this is kind of goes without saying, but the way that the ratios sometimes work with the way that intensity is utilized to determine the amount of parking spaces can lead to overbuilding. The town currently has a 125% maximum in place for neighborhood shopping center uses. So this is a great template to show that maximums can be put in place, which better kind of not only encourage better urban design, but also sustainability. Parking lots are hard on stormwater systems. They absorb heat and then release those later in the day, making for a less walking and biking environment, especially with their size. The opportunities within both of these fields is, rather than a 10% cap on electric vehicles, having a percentage of spaces that must be EV capable or EV ready. EV capable just means that the lines are run underneath the parking, so that that's not have to be retrofitted later, which is obviously very costly and takes time. This kind of sets it in place so that as it expands, chargers can be installed, receptacles can be installed that can be utilized. When it comes to parking maximums, there's plenty of opportunities. Obviously, balance is necessary so that we're not impacting resident mobility, because car dependence is obviously a thing, considering the nature of commuting within the town of Morrisville. But there is the opportunity to reduce minimums, establish a maximum like was seen in the neighborhood shopping center districts, designate a percentage of lot area, or use a geographical approach to promote further reduced parking. Next is tree preservation. So kind of similarly to the last one, I think a lot of us understand that trees provide a lot of great benefits, whether that be stormwater reduction, shading, increase in property values, better aesthetics, carbon sequestration, which is obviously very important. And the town currently uses a canopy retention standards to preserve trees, as kind of dictated by the North Carolina General Assembly, which uses those percentage numbers based on use. And then the priority areas for retention are those that contain mature deciduous trees. However, there's an opportunity here to not only expand those retention standards, but to also shift prioritization. So there are similar peer communities that fall under the same enabling legislation are Kinston, Apex, Gardner, and Cary. The former three prioritize size, whether that be caliper or diameter of the tree, and Cary focuses specifically on preservation. So obviously certain species are going to provide a far greater benefit than others. Crepe myrtles, which there are an abundance of within the town of Morrisville, don't provide as much benefit as your larger hardwood trees, especially native varieties, when it comes to monetary benefits and carbon sequestration. So the opportunity is present to kind of look at it from a financial standpoint and utilize trees as more of a green infrastructure and kind of promote them from that angle in order to meet any reductions goals, but to also preserve canopy. Next is the sustainable affordable housing. So the 2019 Affordable Housing Plan identified, the lowest income groups as those who are facing the most hardships in finding affordable housing. And there's several strategies that were outlined, whether they be master leases, land purchases, density bonuses, for kind of dealing with this issue. However, throughout the plan, there's no real mention of sustainability. And this is a little bit of, it's a little unfortunate considering that the EPA estimates that energy costs alone can amount to as much as 22% of monthly income for low-income households. So obviously, energy efficient units are very important to kind of decreasing the economic burden on these individuals when you consider that 30% or more is going towards housing and 22% is going towards utilities. That's half of a monthly income that's going towards just housing alone. So energy efficiency is often seen as something for those who are able, but it has so much more of a positive impact on those who are struggling, those who are closer to the bottom of the income groups quantifiers. So the opportunity is present to work within kind of the structure of the existing affordable housing plan with just a preference for more energy efficient units, whether they be those that are being leased or those that are being built. And then advocating for that within the Regional Housing Trust. Finally is developer and property owner incentive opportunities. So this is a little bit more broad because it will obviously depend on how the town and planning department wish to proceed. But the opportunity is really present to provide developers some form of incentive for taking additional sustainable action, whether that be large-scale green building certifications or smaller implementations such as renewable energy, energy efficiency, things of that nature. And obviously, again, planning and the town would have to determine what that system would look like. But considering that the construction and the operation of buildings accounts for 40 to 50% of greenhouse gas emissions across the board, it's very vital to really address this in a way that doesn't burden developers with regulations, but creates an economy that they can benefit from and the town and its residents can benefit from as well. So in conclusion, I started out with SolSmart. The town has achieved a lot when it comes to sustainable achievements. And looking over all the plans and the UDO, it's clear that it's in a great position to really take these additional opportunities as they come and really benefit from them, increasing the livability and addressing these challenging questions that we have concerning social justice and climate change and everything that kind of intertwines those and brings them together. Working towards any of these would have a great positive benefit and obviously a domino effect that is going to have all the aforementioned positivities that follows. So that is all I have for you. If you have any questions for me, I'd love to take them. Thank you.
Okay. I'm sure we'll all want comments and questions. I'll start with Councilmember Scroggins-Johnson, followed by Councilmember Fender, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Excellent work and excellent job. You delivered that beautifully. I'm really excited to get this information. For several years, Morrisville wanted to develop a sustainability plan. And I would always say we need to take credit first for all the hard work that we've been doing over the years. And your assessment with 115 points puts us in the silver range for that SolSmart designation, which is really exciting because we're not that far from the gold. So thank you for doing that assessment. I really appreciate that. My questions relate to the electric vehicles. I was wondering if, and parking really, if the vehicles could be a hybrid, and we're seeing a lot of distance concerns within the population, not wanting like 150-mile range, they want a little bit longer distance. So would the hybrid vehicle be qualified as an electric vehicle, can park in those spots and stuff like that?
I'm unaware of kind of I know that at the state level there's various kind of requirements for electric vehicles. I think they actually just got updated very recently. I know that in the current form of the UDO, electric vehicle does not specify whether it comes from hybrid. I don't believe that hybrids are necessarily included. I believe it's only plug-in electric, but I could be incorrect about that.
Right. I think there's opportunity not for the town to kind of dig into that a little bit further because we're not completely where we need to be with range. Only in certain of the high-end vehicles are we seeing that. But we'll
Right,
get there.
absolutely.
I'm confident we'll get there. I just wanted to ask that question. The other item I had is related to the sustainable parking. And one of the interests I had was in permeable pavement. Now, you didn't mention that in your report or analysis, but that would help maybe with some of the stormwater runoff or something like that. Was that an area that you addressed?
So that's actually something that I definitely looked into. It did not, make the presentation for, condensing purposes. But yes, so permeable pavers definitely would. It would just depend on what type of pavement or, pavers in themselves are, the bricks with, the spaces in between and the system underneath. But there's also porous concretes and asphalts, which can retain a little bit more stress from road wear and things like that. So that would just depend on what direction the town would wish to go when it comes to those.
Great. And I just want to make one last comment. The affordable housing recommendations and insights were very helpful because energy costs are significant for many households. So that's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Councilmember Fender, followed by Councilmember Rao, please.
Yeah, thank you for this presentation. It has a lot of good information in it, and I especially like that you did the analysis on what our credits would be for the Soul Smart designation. I am curious, so what in our town went into getting that 115 credits?
Sure. So I mentioned the way that solar is currently zoned. It's allowed in most or all zoning districts. That was huge. That was really huge towards getting those credits. That was probably the largest chunk that we got because but there's so many, and they tend to be 5 to 10 points per credit. So there's so many different things across inspections, planning, and permitting that were already in place. Some of them really simple, like having an online system to submit permits and things like that. Others, much more complex. Actually allowing solar in all major zoning districts is a gold standard. That's why it has so much credits associated with it. So there was a lot that really went into it. And it kind of shows that across the board, the town really has excellent infrastructure in place already. That really the only things that were necessary were making that more available to the public, writing it down and posting it on the website.
Okay. So do you have any suggestions of what it would take to get to the 200? Is there any low-hanging fruit?
So there are, that when it comes to I should say very quickly to credit the great work of the sustainability program in getting solar panels on Fire Station 1. That also contributed very heavily. This came to mind. But expanding solar within government operations, so installing that on more buildings is going to be huge. A lot of points can come from that, but also smaller things, like I mentioned before, transparency, having a designated website where these, or not a designated website, but a designated web page on the website where all of this stuff is gathered together, as well as providing information, connecting them to solar providers and the incentives and tax benefits that can come from that. Having that kind of information is also a great way to kind of add up more points to get towards gold status.
Okay. And then my other question is with regards to the UDO updates and the tree preservation. You said expansion, that one of the areas of opportunity was expansion of the canopy with higher percentages. I mean, how much higher would you suggest, or what else have you seen in other municipalities?
Right. So off the top of my head, trying to picture the table, it seems to be between 12 and 20%, depending on the uses. I honestly haven't seen across different peer communities that much higher, but the highest I've seen, which tends to drift a little bit higher into low 20s up to the 30% range when it comes to retention standards. But that's around kind of the area that it seems to be.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's all
Of course.
I have.
Councilmember Rao, please.
I appreciate you including the affordable housing component as a sustainability plan. I think it's incredibly important for us as a council and the public to know that in the midst of a pandemic, particularly with housing prices rising, that we need to do what we can to make sure that an increasing part of our housing stock is affordable housing. So, to the extent that we can continue to work with you to incorporate this in our sustainability plans, but also maybe getting creative about ideas that we can have to incentivize developers. Councilmember Scroggins-Johnson's been a real leader on this. I'd like to see where we could partner with Wake County. Recently, this year, we actually voted on a development that the cost of the investment for affordable housing was about $3.5 million, and we also incorporated another development that did that. So I think we can be creative and at least communicating to the public that these investments are also part of our sustainability and also our strategic plan of inclusive neighborhoods. So whatever you can do to just give us more ideas on how we can do that would be appreciated.
Sure, absolutely. So the report that accompanies this presentation goes into a little bit more detail on the specifics of the affordable housing. Like I mentioned in the presentation, there's definite great opportunities to just incorporate it within the current structure of it. It seems to really boil down to just incentivizing and leasing these energy efficient units to try to mitigate that burden on the income. Yes.
Great. Well, I just wanted to thank you on behalf of the council. Having a fresh perspective on this is so important. The MESC committee has been working on it for a while, our sustainability director, but having a fresh set of eyes on everything is so important. And as Councilmember Rao mentioned, investments. If we think of this as investments, I'm really looking forward to our staff looking through this, presenting options to us, this council, and try to make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck and trying to make it an even better place to live. So as you mentioned, we've already got a great infrastructure in place to build upon. So really, thank you so much for bringing this forward to all of us, and thank you very much for spending time in the town. We love when people come and help us. We're always looking for more volunteers to do this kind of stuff all the time. Did you want to say something, Mayor Pro Tem?
So I just wanted to say thank you to Ryan. I appreciate you bringing this presentation to us. All of these topics are incredibly important, and you've heard the comments that I think we all probably echo. So I appreciate your time and attention to this, and I really appreciate the last section when you talked about developer and property owner incentives. There are many restrictions that are put on municipalities from the General Assembly, or maybe some of them are restrictions and some of them we don't have authority in other areas. So incentives are critically important when we look at a lot of these issues. So I appreciate you bringing that to our attention as well. Very important. So thank you.
Absolutely.
And good luck with everything.
No, thank you. Thank you all very much for the opportunity.
Ryan, thank you so much for all of your help these last few months. You've done incredible work, and so that's a gift from the town.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that was Kimberly Conley, our Sustainability Director, presenting that plaque. So thank you very much, Ms. Conley. I'll pass it back to Town Manager Page, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to introduce Ben McQuarrie to talk about our small business support and outreach.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
As she said, my name is Ben McQuarrie, and I don't think I've gotten the opportunity to meet some of you yet, but I appreciate the opportunity to get to talk with you today about what I've gotten to research and discover about the town, and I have a few recommendations with how the town can move forward with developing small business community and support. So just to start it off, a little introduction to me. I'm from Bristol, Tennessee originally, and I did my undergraduate education at Virginia Tech, where I majored in psychology and leadership. And then I'm now at NC State in their MPA program. Just finished up my first year, and I'm entering into my last couple semesters. I really enjoy local government work and community engagement. And coming into this internship, I really wanted to see some more inner workings of the town and to really have an impact on the community. So when I came into the program, I had a few specifically defined goals. Most of them came from various already produced articles that the town's put out, strategic plans, etc. And most of them just dealt with how we can start to tackle small business support and outreach. So first off, communication is very key. We needed to be able to develop communication processes, and that in turn helps us develop databases. It helps us figure out what we need to do to then develop action plans and budgets for what we can tackle. So as I started to look at how the town can increase our presence within the small business community, I thought about this quote that my dad likes to talk about a lot. It's from Warren Buffett, where he says he doesn't like to look for 7-foot bars. He likes to look for 1-foot bars that he can easily step over. So the reason why I felt like this kind of was impactful was because this is such a huge topic. You know, there's tons of different ways that the town can approach small businesses and help them succeed. And we need to look for those easy ways where we can insert ourselves into their success. And moving forward, there are 3 specific, got a little ahead of myself. First off, we need to define what businesses we can help. So I feel like there are 3 specific different types of businesses within the town of Morrisville that have different abilities to be impacted upon. First off, you have those locally owned businesses. They're the ones that they specifically have local owners, a local entity, a local group owns that business, and they operate within the town of Morrisville. They have the most direct relation to our residents because they are from here and they serve this area. Then you have local businesses. You kind of go out in the circle a little bit. Those local businesses, they're not necessarily owned by Morrisville residents or companies, but they do have a store here, and they're frequently referred to as like a brick and mortar business. And they do serve the community, and they do deserve to be helped and lifted up by the town. And last off, you have the term of small business. It's a very widely defined term. You ask anybody, they'll tell you different things about what they feel small business is. I really feel like the town should move forward with using the official Small Business Administration set of guidelines that is defined by sectors. For example, you can have a warehouse that's up to 275 people, or a restaurant that maybe is 75 people. And there are caps on revenue and employees in general. If it's over 1,500 employees or over $38.5 million in annual revenue, it's not going to be a small business. But I forget the exact figure, but it's well over 98% of all businesses fall into that small business category. And those are the ones that employ most of the town residents, and those are the ones that provide a lot to the local economy. So there are 3 main areas with how the town of Morrisville will be able to have an impact upon these small businesses. First off, you have leadership that obviously comes from council, it comes from department leaders, and it comes from the town having clear economic vision, engaging stakeholders, and then working with those stakeholders in a very inclusive policy process that helps to push forward processes and policies that the local business community wants to see implemented. The one on the far right, you have regulation. That's obviously something that local government is built to do. You set up the rules and regulations about how these businesses can be formed, implemented, and then operate within the local community. And the middle process is the one that I feel that the town of Morrisville can truly have the biggest and easiest, I'm not going to say easiest, but the simplest route in towards upping our interaction with small businesses. And that's through communication, whether that be connecting businesses to residents or connecting the businesses to the local government to help ease their lives. So the three specific ways that I feel like the town of Morrisville should push forward is, first off, promoting partnership between the town of Morrisville and those small businesses. This, as I'll come into in the next slide, essentially is